All right. Good morning, everyone. And thank you so much for joining Jennifer and I for today's webinar on Facebook and Instagram. Just to make sure everyone can hear me and that our audio is working just fine, if you all wouldn't mind typing into the chat, just introduce yourselves, your name, where you work, all that fun stuff. And we'll wait a few minutes for you all to do that, and then we will dive right into our content. Hi, Jeff. Hi, Tammy. Hi, Ashley. Great. I'm so glad you guys can hear and that our audio is working just fine. So go ahead for the rest of you. Practice typing in that chat, introduce yourselves. This is how you're going to go ahead and answer or ask us any questions throughout the presentation. So Jennifer and I will try to get to all questions as they are asked, or if we feel that the question takes a little bit more time to answer, we might wait until after each section to go into depth to answer your question. And you guys might see on the GoToWebinar screen that there is an option for you all to raise your hand. Feel free to do that as well. But the chat box, we feel, works a little bit better for question and answers. So I'm going to give you guys just 30 more seconds to finish introducing yourselves using the chat box, and then we'll get started. All right, let's go ahead and dive right into our content today. We've got 90 minutes for today's webinar. We've reserved 30 minutes for Instagram, 30 minutes for Facebook, and then 30 minutes for question and answer, and anything else you guys might want to discuss. So for those of you who did not have a chance to attend our in-person training, again, my name is Kristen Matson, and today we also have Jennifer Reynolds on the line. She will be going over all of the Facebook content, and I will be going over all of the Instagram content. The two of us work at a company called ORAU. We go by that acronym. It stands for Oak Ridge Associated Universities, and we're headquartered in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. We are a nonprofit, and Jennifer and I do a bunch of communication, marketing, and training work. We specifically have been working in providing social media training for the past 2 years for organizations working to prevent substance use and abuse. So with that, I wanted to just reorient everyone to a few basic concepts. Without a strategy in social media, you really have no direction. Having a strategy is going to be the most important component to being effective on social media. So we really want you all, and again, if you were in our in-person training, you'll notice that a lot of this is repetition. We've pulled out a few slides to make sure that we hit the points home again, because these are so important. So we really want you to set realistic and achievable goals, And absolutely, one of the most important things is to really get to know your audience, because based on who you're trying to talk to, that's where you'll figure out which social media channels you need to be on and what type of content to put on those social media channels. If you're not putting out content that your audience loves, they're not going to engage with it. It's not going to help your engagement rate and reach, which we'll talk about in a minute. And you're going to be spending a lot of time spinning your wheels for very little return. So we really want to encourage you get to know that audience, develop content they love, and then once you're doing that on the channels that they're on, post consistently, engage in conversations with them, promote other people and accounts, and always, always, always measure and adjust. You want to make sure that the content that you're putting out is reaching the people that you're trying to reach, and that you're meeting your social media goals. So I threw this in here. The second biggest mistake, is not using those channels that your audiences are on. So the first biggest mistake, if you recall, is not having a strategy. But the second one, we really want to harp on this, because this is part of that strategy, again, is picking the right channels. Of course, we've got national data on social media usage. There's a Pew Internet Usage Study report that shows the different demographics that are on each channel. We know that all of the youth are saying that only old people are now on Facebook, but that's just, those are some stereotypes, and there's national data to support that there are, people of all ages on Facebook. But we really want to encourage you to look at your own analytic data. We'll show you how to find that on both Instagram and Facebook shortly. But more important than that is to ask people in your target audience, or people that work closely with your target audience, what channels they are on. We have seen it time and time again that when we work in communities, the national data doesn't always line up with what the data shows for individual communities. For example, we were working in Scott County, Tennessee, and all the youth use Twitter, which is actually doesn't line up with what the national data show. So we really want to encourage you, again, to make sure that you're talking with your target audiences. And always make sure that you're using channels that your team actually has the resources to support well. There's nothing worse than having a bad social media presence. It's better to have none at all than to have a bad social media presence. People are making judgments based on your Facebook pages, your Instagram accounts. That's sort of how people are finding organizations and companies these days. So it's really important to make sure that if you have a presence, you're putting your best foot forward. We always recommend quality over quantity. You probably heard us say this over and over again, and making sure that the content that you're providing is adding value to your audience. So let's talk more about Instagram. And I have put a link in here. If you were in our second in-person training session, you would have received this link in the slides. I wanted to throw it back in here just in case anybody on the webinar today was not in that second session where we added this link. And if you were in that first session, thank you so much. Your evaluations really encouraged us to make sure that we added this in for that second session. So this is just, if you need help setting up a new Instagram account on your phone, this will help walk you through, or tablet. So this, again, I'll pause here to let everyone know that this webinar is going to be recorded. It actually is recording now. So if you can't write this down or searching for a pen, don't worry. You'll have the recording, and then you can access this. You can press pause and write down this link at that time. So I'm going to show you a few screens and all of the different features within the Instagram app. There are a bunch of new things that have come out since the training, so I'll show you some of those features as well. We're going to do a walkthrough, and I've got a handy dandy nifty document cam to show you my phone and all of the buttons that I press. So let me go ahead and switch to that screen so that you can see my phone. And there we go. Let's see, we'll unlock that. I'm going to open up Instagram. We're going to give you all a little tutorial. So I want to go slowly through this because, one, I do realize that there is somewhat of a lag with the GoToWebinar and what's happening. And two, I want to make sure that everybody's following me. So if you'd like, go ahead and pull out your phone or your tablet. Instagram, again, is a mobile application, so there's only limited functionality. If you go to Instagram.com, you're not able to post or anything like that. It was built first and foremost as a mobile platform. So feel free to grab your phone, your tablet, and follow along with me. So with Instagram, what it does is it is a visual platform. Okay, it is visual forward instead of, what we originally started out with Facebook, which mainly was text only status updates. With Instagram, they really lead with visuals. And for everybody's awareness, if you did not know, Facebook does own Instagram. So just be aware of that, and you'll see, sometimes a lot of things that happen on Facebook, a lot of updates that happen, sometimes make it over to Instagram. So there are a lot of similarities that you're going to start seeing. For example, Instagram and vice versa. Sometimes they get released on Instagram and then make it over to Facebook, as is the case with the Instagram stories, which are those little circles up here at the top of my screen. Those are Instagram stories, and you'll see that if you are a Facebook user, you'll see that Facebook has instituted Facebook Day and Facebook Stories. So with Instagram, they have sort of two core functionality or areas of Instagram, two focus areas. One is that Instagram Stories. So these are short form photos and videos with fun little stickers and really meant to be more interactive. If you like scrapbooking, I think you'll love Instagram Stories, and we'll go into more detail of what those are and what those look like and all of the different fun features you can do with those in a minute. But the way that you access the stories is by swiping left to right. So these are stories of all of the people that my dogs, Ace and Darla, this is their account that I have created for training purposes, so that I have stuff to be able to show people in my trainings. So you access the stories of people that you follow by swiping from left to right on the stories tab. You can click on any one of those stories to watch, or you can hit this play button, watch all. In addition, the second sort of focus area, which was the initial focus of Instagram, was Instagram feed. So these are just like with your Facebook feed. If you're more comfortable with Facebook and are a Facebook user, you'll notice that this is somewhat similar, where you're scrolling, from top to bottom to look at all of the different posts from the people and publishers that you follow. So with Instagram, again, it is a visual platform. They lead with visuals, photos, and videos. So each post appears in feed as either a photo or a video. And at the bottom of each post, you have a few options. You've got the heart button, which is basically like a like on Facebook. You have the comment feature here, that little text bubble, and that allows you to comment on the person's post. You also have this little paper airplane, which is the share button. You'll notice here, if you have been using Instagram a lot since our training, you may notice, and this may or may not be on your phone, they're slowly rolling it out. This is a brand new update for people to be able to share other people's posts to their own story. So that's new. So keep an eye out for that. That is a brand new feature. It's rolling out. Not everyone has it, but if you do, congratulations. You were one of the early ones to get it. And when new features roll out, I should say that there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason as to when some people get it or why some people get it and not others. But that little paper airplane button allows you to share the post from the Instagram feed to your story or as a private message to any of the other friends that you have. There are people that you follow on Instagram. So if I wanted to share that in a private message, let's say I'm going to share that to my friend Holly, it would just go as a private message to her. I could also type something down here to write a personalized message to her about why I'm sharing that photo with her, and then I would hit send. You can send it to any number of people. You didn't have to just press one. We could also send it to Nicole, or She's All Booked, who's a travel agent, and we could send it to our story. So I'm not going to do that right now, but it does send that post to them separately. Some other things that you have when you are looking at feed and looking at other people's posts is you have this little bookmark feature right here. So that button allows me to basically save that post. And this was a feature that was added to Instagram so that, in my opinion, it's very similar to how people use Pinterest. They can save it into what Instagram calls collections. So you can actually name different collections, and it's like a collection is sort of like a folder full of different posts. And this feature is particularly great for content ideas, inspiration for your own posts. So we really recommend that if you are using Instagram, you also follow people who do very similar things to your organization, have similar sort of mission and vision, and post content that would be similar to what you guys would post so that you can get some ideas or maybe share some of their posts to your stories once you get that feature at a later date. So it's a really great way to share other user-generated content. We call that in social media strategy, we call that curated content, where you're going out and you're looking for content from other people to share to your own followers. So just, I'll show you where to access those collections in a minute, but I want to keep going with Instagram feed and all of the different options that you have when it comes to other people's posts that appear in your home screen. And again, we know we're in the home screen because we've got this little home icon, the house, highlighted, and that's what, when you very first open Instagram, that's what it opens to. So with feed, you also have, you'll notice for each post, these three little dots up here. So let's go ahead and click on those. So this lets me share this person's post to Facebook, share to Messenger, copy the link to that person's post. So let's say I wanted to send an email to someone to say, hey, go check out this post. I could do that by copying the link. You'll notice here that there is no option to share to Instagram, or basically what we would refer to in Instagram as a repost. The experts are saying it's coming. The first indication was the fact that they are now allowing you to share other people's posts in your own stories. So we are anticipating that soon enough, people have been asking for it for a long time now, that soon enough we'll be able to share people's feed posts to our own Instagram feed, and it'll show up in our profile with the rest of the Instagram posts. In addition to all of those different share options, there's also a turn on post notifications option. And that is a really great tool. You can use it yourselves to help build engagement with your followers. You can tell people to turn on post notifications for your posts. That way, whenever that person, if I were to turn on post notifications here for Jess, who's my sister-in-law, anytime she posted, I would get a push notification that came through at the top of my screen to say, Jess has posted something on Instagram, and it would be, sort of a reminder to me to go check out that post. With the new Instagram algorithm, which determines who gets to see your posts, it is only estimated that 10% of your followers are actually seeing your content, which is a very small number. But you can increase that by encouraging people to turn on those post notifications, because even if it doesn't show up in their feed as they scroll through to see all of the content and all of the posts that are showing up based on the Instagram algorithm, they can turn on those post notifications and immediately go straight to each new post that you make. There is also something new. If you guys have been using, if you've been using Instagram a lot since our training, you may or may not notice this new mute button feature. That's a new feature that is still rolling out to people. This has been a possibility on Facebook for a little bit, where you can unfollow people or hide their posts for a period of time. Mute does the same thing. It says to Instagram that, hey, I'm really kind of sick and tired of seeing this type of post, or this content is not relevant to me. I don't want it to show up in my Instagram feed, so I'm going to mute this person. You definitely don't want people to mute you, because it's going to hurt your reach. They're not going to see your content. They're not going to engage with it. And then the number of people who actually engage with your content, like or comment on it, compared to the number of followers you have, that ratio is going to go down. That's what's considered your engagement rate, the number of people who actually interact with your content versus the number of people who follow you. So definitely want to make sure that you're creating content that your audience loves, so you're not getting any mutes or unfollows, because that's going to hurt you in the long run. All right, let's keep going. So let's look for a post that has some comments on it. All right, so here's a post that has comments. I can click on, let's see, there's the more. You'll notice that this post has a rather a longer caption and some hashtags. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But if I click here on view comment, not showing up, so let's go somewhere else. Let's find somebody who has a comment, because I want to show you that you can, oh, here's a cute one. Oh, look at him. Okay, so he has 14 comments on this post. So I want to show you the capabilities that you have within if you click on comments on other people's posts, and people can do this for your posts as well. So we can see, once we opened up that comments and expanded that, we can see all of the comments that this post has received. We have the option of liking other people's comments by clicking on the little heart next to the comment itself. And you'll also notice it might be a little hard to read on your screen. And if you are having a hard time seeing things, you can expand your GoToWebinar window to make it full screen. So that might help you as well. So feel free to do that. But we have the option to reply to individual comments. So just wanted to show you that that's an option and functionality as of Instagram as well. So let's talk a little bit more about posting to Instagram feed. So whenever you post it to Instagram, you'll do that by clicking here on that little camera button, and it'll automatically pull up some things from your library down here, your camera library. So these are all things that I've taken photos of or video of in the recent past. So you can, if you don't want to upload something from your camera roll, you can go here to that middle button to take a photo. Now, currently my phone is that this opens up to the camera that's on the back of your phone. So you definitely are seeing my desk right now, which is why this is sort of a blank screen. If I were to flip this around, you can see the top of my document cam that is recording this webinar. But we'll turn that back around. And you have the option here to turn flash on, flash off. So the way that we would take a live photo is by tapping this button. We also have the option of clicking video and tapping and holding to record a video. So you have the option here. You can either upload photos or videos, upload a regular photo, or upload photos or videos, take a photo on the fly, or take a video on the fly. And again, you can switch your camera to either the selfie cam or the rear cam. So let's take a quick photo because I really want to show you more about posting to Instagram. And I want to talk about, some best practices in doing so. So we'll just take this really boring photo of my desk, which is currently black. You'll notice that some filter options pop up, and these are it changes the look of the photo, adds sort of a colorful overlay, if you will. So feel free to play with some of those in your posts. You can also hit that little sun to change the intensity of whatever filter you want. I'm going to hit cancel. So you also have some editing options. So I really encourage you to play around with those. Lots of fun things that you can do. They have lots of options for editing in the Instagram app. So let's say we're done with that. We've got our picture. We've chosen our filter. We're going to go to next up here at the top. So this is where you'll write your caption. And I really want to encourage all of you to not just caption the photo in terms of what you might see underneath a photo in a newspaper, which is just a 1 to 2 sentence description of what's in the photo. People know what's in the photo. They can see that. And, I laugh sometimes because I've seen captions not just on Instagram, but in newspaper, things like that, where you'll see the caption reads, "Student sitting at a desk." Okay, Great, like I could see that. We really want you to build context around what's happening in the photo. Why is the student sitting at a desk? Is he, studying for an exam? Why is he studying for the exam? What's the importance of passing? Provide all of that additional context when you're writing your caption. I really want to encourage you to utilize Instagram feed. All of these Instagram posts are going to go in the feed. I really want to encourage you to utilize this as a mini blog. So talk to me about why you posted this picture. What's going on today? What's in it for me? Remember, we really want you to focus your content on your audience and to post things that are relevant to them. So provide them with value, not just in the picture or in the video, but also in your caption. This is also where you can add hashtags. Hashtags are basically the number sign with a word followed after it, and that just tags your photo with a keyword that allows people to be able to find that post by searching for the keyword at any time. So we really want to encourage you. You can include up to 30 different hashtags in one post. I've got a strategy that I'll reorient all of you to after we go through this walkthrough. But really, the recommendation is definitely use less than 30, but the recommendation really falls somewhere within the 11 to 15 hashtag range. So let's just show you how to write a caption and how to enter the hashtags and all of that fun stuff. So I'm not going to go through the process of typing in a really long mini blog post, but I definitely recommend that you guys do. That's really where we see increased engagement because people are having to take a little bit longer of a time on each post to actually read the content. And if it's good content, they're going to stay on and actually read all the way through. So I'm typing hi. I've got a little wavy hand emoji. So we really recommend using emojis in Instagram because it actually is going to increase engagement. So it increases the chance that people are going to interact with your content by up to 47%, which is really cool. All right, so we've got our little emoji in there. We've got a hi. I'm gonna, hit a return here. And this is where you can actually start typing in hashtags in your caption. We have people who like to put their hashtags in a comment on their own post. That is perfectly fine as long as the hashtags that are in the comment come in either the first or second comment on the post, they'll get attached to your post. But people only do that because some believe that all of the hashtags feel a little bit clunky and look a little spammy. But honestly, if you have a long enough caption here, they're not going to see all of those hashtags as they're scrolling through initially. So go ahead, write your longer mini blog post captions here, and then feel free to go ahead and put all of your hashtags just right in the actual post. But again, if you feel like you'd rather have them in the comments, just make sure that it's in either the first or second comment. So be really quick about it and make sure other people aren't commenting on it and using up that initial hashtag space. So the way that we input a hashtag is by going here to the number sign and then typing a word. So hashtag dogs. It is going to auto-populate some popular hashtags that have been used that start with dogs. So you can click on any number of those. You can also, what's really great is see how many posts already have that hashtag. So in my hashtag strategy, I talk about how you want to use really popular hashtags, but also some not so popular hashtags. using a good mix is going to help get your content seen by people. And that's ultimately why we use hashtags, is so people can find our content. All right, so let's go ahead and click on Dogs of Instagram. And we're going to hit OK. And all of Ace and Darla's followers are going to be wondering why in the world I'm posting this blank picture, but that is fine because this is just a test account that I do lots of fun stuff with. You can also tag people in the post. So let's start typing my personal account. We'll hit done. You can add a location, and I always recommend, if it makes sense for the post, that you add a location. And so this is actually using location services, if you've got it turned on, to recommend some locations around you. So right now I am in Mankato, Minnesota. So I can either hit Mankato, Minnesota, or what I actually really recommend is getting a little bit more granular. If you're at an event, at an actual building or a park or something like that, select that location, because that is going to sort of set you apart. If anybody looks for all of the posts at that particular location, there will obviously be less posts probably at Rosa Parks Elementary School versus all of the posts that have been tagged with the location Mankato, Minnesota. So anytime you can set yourself apart, we really recommend that you do. I'm not sure what Wow Zone is, if anybody's interested in that, but it sounds fun, huh? All right, so we're going to touch Mankato, Minnesota. So that is going to geotag my post, so that if anybody is looking for posts in Mankato, Minnesota, my post will appear in those search results. Similarly with that hashtag, if anybody searches for Dogs of Instagram, my post is going to show up in those search results. You have the option here to also share your post to any number of channels. The defaults are Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr, but you have some options to add others. I really recommend thinking carefully about doing this, because what's going to happen is when you create a post for Instagram, you're using all of the best practices for that channel. And you're trying to reach the audience that's on that channel. So if I were to create a post for Instagram, I would craft my text so that it reads just like a story, a mini blog post, and then I would use my 11 to 15 different hashtags. Well, if I shared that over to Twitter, Twitter has a character count restriction. So that's not going to really show up appropriately on that channel. And with Facebook, people don't really use hashtags that often. So it's going to, be a little bit different. Also, you have to consider, is the content that you're creating for your audience on Instagram, is that content going to be relevant for the audience that you have on Facebook? If they're the exact same audiences, then you may want to consider why you're doing both channels. Just really think through this strategically before you decide to share content from one channel to another. All right, so I'm going to disable that so it doesn't share to my Facebook page, and we're going to hit share. And that is posting. So I'm sure everybody's wondering what's going on with that. Let's jump into stories, and then we will talk more about some of the other features and the profile on Instagram. So with stories, again, these are the little circles at the very top of the Instagram app. So the first one is you. So that'll be your account. You'll notice, I know it's probably a little difficult to see, but you'll notice that there's a little blue arrow. That's how you can add to your stories. You can also, from the home screen here, we're still on the home screen, which is where all of everybody's posts are showing up. So from that, we can actually swipe from left to right on our screen, and that brings up the stories page that allows us, that brings up the stories page that or the story screen that allows us to post to stories. So this looks just like a camera, and we can do a number of things on here. So let's go ahead and get out of that and go back to the home screen before I show you how to post to stories and all of the different features that you have on there, because I want to show you what some of these other people's stories look like. So let's go over here and let's click on Neighborhood Bar. Oh no, their story is no longer available. Oh, let's see. Oh, Ellen always has good content. So you'll notice that these are a collection of short videos. You can post up to 15 seconds worth of video in a single story segment, or you can post a photo which shows on the screen for about 5 or 6 seconds.
It was made for you. It was that. You look fantastic in it. Thank you, darling.
And you'll notice that Ellen has, and now we're here on Scully the Wiesla. So you'll notice that these are just quickly scrolling through all of the different people that I follow on here. This is actually an ad. But people can add captions on here. They can add stickers. They can add emojis, all sorts of fun things. You can tag people. This is a new, you see the little watermelon dancing, the little s'mores jumping around. Those are GIFs that you can see. All right, so let's go ahead and show you how to create a story, and then we will talk more about some of the new content. Oops, sorry. There we go. Okay, so again, if you want to create your own story, you can go over here, scroll all the way to the left from your home screen on Instagram, and click on the blue plus sign. Or you can swipe from left to right to open up the stories camera. So you'll notice a few things down here at the bottom. You've got this little button right here, which actually opens up your camera library to show all of the photos and videos that you have taken on your camera previously. You've got what I'm sure you guys are recognizing as that light function. So getting some extra lighting in the picture. And then over here, you've got that selfie cam, turning it around to the selfie cam versus the rear cam. And then this right here, this little face. So what this does is it actually puts basically, they're called filters, or if you are a Snapchat person, they call them lenses. And what it does is it adds basically a mask or, some fun elements to any face that it recognizes in the photo. And the way that you would actually get it to add to your story is you turn the selfie cam on or the rear cam. You get a face in view of your camera. You tap that little smiley face. You're going to want to pick one of them, and then make sure that it's your face is in view, and then it's going to put that fun filter on it. And while that filter's on, you can choose to tap this button right here in the middle to take a photo, or hold it down to record a video. All right, so we're going to get out of that. So we can change to, again, open up our camera roll, look at the last 24 hours, or look at your camera roll long term. Whoops. Sorry. I don't know why it's freezing on me. All right, let's go back to stories. All right, so at the bottom of the stories icon, you can see a few different options down here. So the way that you change, it normally defaults to normal, which is just basically I'm either going to take a photo on the fly or a video on the fly. You can also slide it, and I'll do that slowly so you can follow. I know there's a little bit of a lag. So there's some different options down here, and I encourage you to play with them. So this type just lets you type some text if you're not really wanting to share a photo or a video. And you can just tap to type something. Hi. Turn it into an emoji. You can change how it appears on the screen by typing these things up at the top. There's all kinds of different options there. So play with that. There's the live button. So this is how you go live on Instagram. And it is only an option in Instagram stories to go live. You can't go live, in the feed. So people know that you're live because all your little circle that will appear at the top within their own home screen, when they're looking through their stories, it'll show a little live button underneath your profile picture within your little story circle. So they'll get a notification that you're live, and then the replay can be available for up to 24 hours. And that's something I definitely want to make sure I mention, is that all of your stories are only going to be available for 24 hours. So with stories, we use them as a little bit more lighthearted content. We used to use the example, and I'm sure I shared it with you in the in-person training. We used to use this for Snapchat because people really were having a hard time trying to understand Snapchat. But Instagram feed, we say, is like going to a wedding where you really care what you look like. You make sure the lighting's good, that you've got a great new outfit on, that your hair looks nice. And Instagram stories is like going to your best friend's house on a Friday night. Your best friend doesn't care what you're wearing or how your hair looks. So you can be a little bit more off the cuff. You don't have to be perfect in Instagram stories, is what I say. It's a little bit more forgiving. It doesn't have to be, perfectly planned out content. So let's move right along. That was normal again. Normal is just taking regular photo and video. Again, each individual video on Instagram stories can be 15 seconds long. Boomerang, focus, super zoom, rewind, hands-free, and stop motion are all just fun effects that you can do with your videos. So I really encourage you to try those and check those out. But I want to, for now, show you how we can post and all of the different features and some of the new features on Instagram stories. So I'm just going to press that button, tap it to record a picture. So this is just a still photo that I took on the fly using normal. It gives me some options. I can immediately just go ahead and post it to my story. This is sort of the shortcut button. I can save it, or I can do some little scrapbooking designs, essentially. Like I said, if you like scrapbooking, I think you'll like Instagram stories. So let's talk about some of these fun little features up here. All right, so this first one is stickers. So there are a bunch of new stickers that have appeared since the training, and some of these, they are still rolling them out. So if you don't have all of these, it's okay. Just be patient. So there's one that I'm still waiting on, which is the Q&A sticker. So we keep on waiting on that. I don't have it yet, but I'll talk about that in a minute. So it automatically opens up to all kinds of stickers. So there are a few interactive ones up here at the top that Instagram has selected. So this first one right here is a location sticker. So this sort of functions just like Instagram feed post location tagging, but it appears as a fun little sticker on top of your story picture or story video. So let's go ahead and say that we're at Anytime Fitness because everyone should be working out. It's good for their health. So this brings up a button that I can resize. I can move it anywhere. And when I post this to my story, anybody who's watching it can actually click on it. And what's going to happen is a little map is going to open up to show people exactly where that is. So this is a really great strategy for you to use in your Instagram stories if you're at an event and you want to encourage people to come down and check it out, is to add that location sticker, because they can actually click on that and see exactly where it is and get directions and all that fun stuff. We can tap on it to change the look of it. So that's going to go back. The other thing that we can do is do a clickable @mention. So this might be a little bit hard to see as it is, but this lets you actually tag someone in your story post. So I will tag and see how it's auto-populating people. So you don't need to remember their handle, which is what that @mention thing is. That's their username. So we'll tag someone in here. We'll tag me. And then same thing. You can pinch on your screen and move it all around. You can tap on it to change the look of it. Lots of different options here. But what this does is if anybody's viewing this post, this story post, they can actually tap on that button and it's going to bring up the option for them to visit my profile, my personal profile. So that'll allow them to go straight to someone else's Instagram profile, which is actually a really cool strategy if you're working with other people, encouraging them to tag you in their posts. It'll allow their followers access to you and your profile and allow other people to be able to discover you who may not have known that you had an Instagram account that you were posting. This is a great way to work with what we call influencers, is people in your space that are that have a good following, number of people following them already. So reach out to them, see if they'll tag you in some of their content to recommend to their followers that they also follow you. And I'll show you what that looks like once I post this. So the other option is hashtag buttons. So we've got that. We've got some poll options where you can ask people questions, yes or no. We've got these are GIF buttons or GIF stickers. So we can put a little lady dancing. We can let's cancel the GIF. We can do a slider. This one's really cool because you can ask a question and ask people to respond to it using the slider. You can change what the emoji looks like. How crazy is this story? How crazy is this? And then people would respond using that slider, so they would actually interact with your story post. So again, we have the option to move things around as much as we want. And then people can move that slider. We can get stats from all of that. We also have the option to turn sound on or off. So if you recorded a video and you don't want people to hear the background noise, maybe you were walking through an airport as I was yesterday and there was a lot of background noise, but you just wanted them to be able to see what was happening on the screen, you could do that. You can also do all sorts of drawing, doodling on the screen. There's erasers. You can change the colors. If you want to pick a custom color, you tap, sorry, I'll move it up. You tap and hold on that color palette and you can choose a custom color. I'm partial to purple, so we can do that. And then once we're done, we hit done. We can actually type if you wanted to add some text on the screen. We have the option here of changing the look of it again, changing the colors, changing the font by tapping here at the top. So then again, we can shrink that. So once we're done with all of that fun stuff, we can either, again, shortcut, add the story, save it, or I'm going to go over here to send to. So you can share it to your story or you can send it in a private message to any number of your followers. You can create a new group to be able to send it to a group of people at one time. So I'm going to click share to my story. So done. And one new feature I really want to show you guys because I think it's so cool. So notice or remember that I actually tagged my personal account in that story. So what's going to happen is on my personal account, if I were to open it, the way that I go to my inbox, is by clicking on the home screen here. And then I notice, hey, I have this little one dot. So that's going to open up my inbox and all of the messages that I have. So this is actually telling me Ace and Darla mentioned me in their story. So this is a brand new feature, which is so cool, which really is great for user-generated content. So encouraging people to tag you in their stories. And then what you can do is actually give them a shout out and thank them for tagging you in their picture, but you can add that piece of content to your own story. So Ace and Darla tagged me, Kristen, in their story, and I can add this story. I also have the option to add more things on top of it. So it's really cool and collaborative. And then I can share that to all of the people that follow me on my personal account, which is really neat. I do want to show you real quick what that looks like when your story gets posted. So we're going to go up here to Ace and Darla's story, and it's going to open. I'm going to tap on the screen let's go back. So I tap on the screen left to go back, tap on the screen right to go to other people's stories. So I can actually click on any number of these different features. So again, this is the clickable tag. You'll notice that it pops up the person's a preview of the person's name, and then I can tap that and it'll go straight to that profile. I can respond to any of the polls. I can actually click on the slider to rate how crazy I think it is. It gives you an average. And then again, here's that tag for location. Oops, and I think I may have screwed up because I added the poll on top of it and it's not letting me click. But it would bring up a little map for you. Some new things since our training, you can actually share other people's posts, other people's stories privately. You can share regular posts to your stories. Let me show you how you do that. So let's go back over here to Ace and Darla. Let's say I have this piece of content that I like. You have the option to send using that little paper airplane, and you can add that post to your story, which is really cool. So this allows you, this is brand new, this allows you to add that, and then if anybody's viewing your story, they can actually tap on it and it'll go straight to your profile. So if there's a post that you have that you want to also make sure that people who are watching your stories don't miss out on, because a lot more people are going to watch your stories than are going to see your content in the Instagram feed, just as the nature of the Instagram algorithm. You can actually add your posts into your stories. So I can, and I can add all of those fun stickers on top of it. If I tap on the picture, it's going to add in that caption. So if that's important to me to have in my stories, then I can do that. If I just want the picture, I can tap back out. So then you have the option of adding that to your story. So a couple more things that I wanted to double check and go through. We've got story highlights here. So this is an option that you have to make your stories live on longer than 24 hours. So you have... Did you pass your doggy daycare assessment? Darla, you need to get in your car seat, okay? Why'd you hop out? Gotta get back in. I'm proud of you. So you see my little guys. So you can actually put any number of your old Instagram stories into highlight albums, and you can name the album, so you can put content into different categories. I really quickly want to show you somebody's post or somebody's account that I really like. So this is Subi Zimmerman, and so she does a lot of Instagram tips and tricks, and so she has all of her albums here with nice album covers, and so she has sort of segmented them out based on different categories. So she's got Mr. Cody, which is her dog. So she has all of her stories that include her dog Cody saved into this album. And then same with all of her workouts that she records. She's got all of her stories, and I'm just tapping through to go through them. But she can save them. So that's a way to get your story content to live on long term. All right, so the way that you access your story highlights is by going down here to your profile. So want to point out a few things on the profile before I go into insights and before I turn things over to Jennifer. So within the profile, which is, again, down here, bottom right, this is where you can see all of the content that you've posted. You can see any, these are all of your feed posts. Your current stories can be accessed by tapping here on your profile picture. You know you have a current story from the last 24 hours because there will be a rainbow around your picture. Your story highlights are here. That's where you can add new story highlight albums if you like. You'll also notice that I have my username here, a little bio section here. You don't get very much room to write a bio, so you want to make sure that you're being strategic, that you're using the right keywords to describe what you're doing in your industry. Feel free to use emojis. They're a great way to cut down on the number of characters that you have to use. The other thing that I recommend, again, is if you can, to add a keyword into your username. So I could, if I really wanted to, and again, this is just a fun account, so I don't follow all of the rules. I'm not trying to get them famous, although that would be great. Maybe they could be like Boo the dog. But anyways, so you could actually put a keyword here, Ace and Darla, dogs of Instagram stars, I don't know. So anytime anybody searched for that keyword, again, if it was in my my username, I would show up, this profile would show up in those search results. So you can edit your profile by doing that. And again, it's adding a keyword into your name. So all of this info is there for you to be able to edit. There is something that on Instagram, we talked in the training about business profiles versus regular profiles. So a business profile on Instagram is going to, if you change your account to be a business profile, one, you have to allow it to be open and allow people to be able to see all of your content. So it's not going to be a private account. But if you change your account to a business profile, you get the added bonus of being able to add call to action buttons. So if somebody looked at your profile, they could click the button to email, to call. So that button appears right here. You see email. There's also some brand new ones that integrate with third-party tools such as Eventbrite. So you can actually add that call to action button, set it up with your, if you have an Eventbrite account where you're trying to sell tickets to some sort of event or fundraiser. So if people go to your Instagram account, they can actually just click on that call to action button and it'll take them straight to the event page on Eventbrite and they can order the tickets. There are a bunch of other new contact buttons that are coming out all the time, but right now the main ones have always been call, email, directions. So definitely check those out. You get that if you upgrade to a business profile. And to upgrade to a business profile, one, you have to have a Facebook business page. You have to link your Facebook business page to your Instagram profile. And then you have to go here to the options, scroll all the way down to, you'll see an option to switch to business profile. Right now I have the option to switch back to a personal account. I don't want that because I like a business profile because in addition to having that contact button, you also have this button right here, which allows you to access insights. So what insights is that's your evaluation key. That helps you figure out how many people are viewing your posts, viewing your stories, how many people are engaging with that content, how many likes each one of your stories is getting, the comments that you're getting. It also gives you information about how many people are viewing your profile, what days all of this activity is happening on. And if you ever are confused as to what some of these things mean, I love how Instagram does this. You can actually click what do these mean and get definitions of everything. They have, since the training, reorganized the Insights tab, so this might look a little bit different to you, but they basically have it rolled out in three different sections. Activity, which is, basically a snapshot and overview of the reach, impressions, profile visits, all of that. Content, which tells you exactly how all of your content is doing, how each individual post and each individual story is performing. If you've done any promotions or paid to do any Instagram advertising, that information would appear here as well. And that's how you can actually create a promotion. And then I love this because this third tab over here gives you all kinds of information about your audience, your number of followers, the breakdown on gender, men versus women, the age range of your followers. You can actually toggle here and select to just look at the age range of the men who follow you, the women who follow you. You get information about the locations that they're following you from. So cities and countries. So I've got some followers in Brazil, United Kingdom, Canada, and even Russia, which is cool. And this I love. So this is when your followers are online. So if you're wondering, when do I post content to Instagram so that it can potentially get the most visibility? The answer is when your followers are online. And again, part of that isn't as important with the algorithm, but we still recommend that you, try this definitely with stories. This is a really great thing to see with days, because since stories are only live for 24 hours, maybe you don't post stories every day. Maybe you look at when your followers, which days they are on Instagram the most, and then maybe you put stories only on those days. So again, Monday through Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, days and hours. So lots of good information that you can get with insights. Unfortunately, you can't export this stuff. So if you wanted to save it, you could do screenshots. You can actually create an Excel spreadsheet and keep track of that over time. Insights are only available for a week at a time, with the exception of being able to look at the insights for individual posts. So for example, if we go into content, go into posts, this is showing all of my feed posts. It automatically defaults to showing all posted in the past 1 year sorted by impressions. So this is the number of people who have seen it. I can change that. And you'll notice that there's these little white numbers that shows you the number of impressions. And again, it's ordered chronologically, or in order of how many impressions. So the one with the most impressions is going to show first. So you can actually click on those and view more insights for each individual post. So we get likes, comments, how many people actually bookmarked it, profile visits, and reach. So this lovely picture of Darla resulted in actually 2 people clicking on my name to look at my profile, to look at more pieces of my content. So let's go back. We can, like I said, we can edit this. We can look at just photos. We can look at videos. We can look at carousel posts, which is if I posted multiple photos and videos in one single Instagram post. Let's say I want to look at engagement and over the past 2 years. So I hit apply, and then that's going to change and resort my insights based on that criteria in which I selected. So I know I'm going fast. I'm going trying to go through this strategically. I want to make sure that Jennifer has enough time. I haven't seen anybody type in any questions. If you do have questions, go ahead and type them. But now I want to go ahead and turn things over to Jennifer so that she has enough time to go through Facebook. All right, so Jennifer, go ahead, and if you'd like to take control, you're more than welcome.
All right, thanks, Kristen, and hi, everyone. We're scheduled until 11:30 today, and we intentionally put Kristen first because on your evaluations, there were a lot of comments about people felt we didn't spend enough time on Instagram. So we wanted to very intentionally give Kristen a lot of time to walk you through some of that in detail. So I'm going to try and go very quickly through Facebook, and you can wave to my family on the screen as I'm pulling up my presentation. So real quick, those of you, if you're wondering, if you're staring at GoToMeeting on a mobile device and you're saying, how do I ask a question? Well, on a mobile device, there's a little question mark at the top of your screen. If you click on that, you can type in a question for us to answer. Or you'll see a little icon that looks like 2 people standing in a line, and that's a chat box, and you can use that as well. Either of those will send your questions to Kristen and I. Another thing you can do after this webinar, feel free to email us at any time. We want to be able to answer your questions. We want to be able to help you out. So Kristen, if you don't mind typing our emails in the chat box for everyone so that they have that information, that'll be great. And we are happy to stay on the line after 11:30 until about noon in case you have questions as well. So let's do a quick Facebook rehash, shall we? In the next 15 minutes, I'm going to do a quick review of the Facebook algorithm. We've spent a lot of time in the training talking about that. So hopefully this is a review for you. I've added a few content ideas specifically for organizations who are working in the substance abuse space. Some ideas of content that I think would do really well on your Facebook pages. And then I want to jump and share my screen and do a little bit of a walkthrough. You know, some of the criticisms on the evaluations were that I did a little too much PowerPoint and not enough show and tell. So I want to make sure that I walk you through how to set up a business page on Facebook, a few tips and tricks, and do a little bit of a drive on Facebook Insights. And at any time, shoot me an email, use the chat box, or if we have time, we can also unmute you all to ask some questions. Okay, so what is the Facebook algorithm? When you log into Facebook, the information you see is called the news feed, okay? That is content that Facebook has curated from all the friends and family that you've made your friend, and all the pages or businesses that you've decided to like or follow. It's important to remember that over 95% of content that people see on Facebook is viewed in the news feed. So it is a very rare thing that people will actually go to your Facebook page. You know, people only use that really if they're kind of checking out a restaurant or a product. So you really need to think about the Facebook algorithm and the news feed when you're talking about your content, because people aren't going to come to you, you need to come to them. So the Facebook algorithm determines what content will be seen in the news feed for every user every single time they log on to Facebook. And this is based on Facebook's prediction of the content that they think you want to see and that you're going to engage with in a meaningful way. And that's sort of the over the 10,000-foot view. If you want a more detailed description of exactly how it works, I've included in the slide set, which we will send to you after this webinar, this link to a YouTube video from Adam Mosseri, who's the VP of Facebook at, the VP of Newsfeed at Facebook, rather. And I think he does a really great job of explaining this. So be sure to check it out. It's about a 3-minute video. Now, why should you care about the Facebook algorithm? Well, one reason, reach. The reach is defined as the number of people who see your content, okay, in their news feeds. So it used to be that if you posted something as a business or a brand, everyone who liked or followed you saw it. That is not the case anymore. Because of the algorithm, only a portion of your audience will see your content. And we want to really understand the algorithm so that we can up the number of people that do. So if you see on my screen, there's this organization that we trained in Binghamton, New York called the Broome Opioid Abuse Council. They have about 265 likes, 271 followers. And this post of theirs on the right side about a family fun night event they were having reached 151 people. So that's a little less than half of their audience, okay? So if you have a business profile, every time you post, you will see your reach number below that post in blue. And that's really a number that you want to pay attention to. So what are some of the factors that the Facebook algorithm cares about that you need to consider when you're developing content? Okay, so in January of this year, Adam Mosseri of Facebook said, we will prioritize posts that spark conversation and meaningful interactions between people. So the new Facebook algorithm, the strongest variable is those comments. So you want to create content that's going to generate comments from the people who see it, especially long comments. Think about conversation. Another variable that's weighed very heavily is comment replies. So a comment reply is when one of your users replies to a comment on your post left by another user. So if you think about it, that's more of that conversation element. Not only are your users talking to you by commenting on your post, but they're talking to each other about your post through these comment replies. Number 3 is reactions. It's not enough anymore for someone to just very passively like your post. People like everything these days. But using these reactions, the love, the laughter, surprise, sadness, anger, that really signals to Facebook and to the algorithm a stronger reaction, right? Someone doesn't just like your content, they love your content. Number 4 and 5 are about sharing. Okay, it used to be that if someone shared your post, that was the holy grail. That was wonderful, and it still is. But there are 2 types of sharing that are weighed even more heavily in the algorithm. The first is sharing links over Messenger. So Messenger is Facebook's private messaging system. It works exactly like a text message where someone can send a message in Facebook to an organization or to any of their friends and followers. So if someone sees your post and says, oh my goodness, my mom would really love to see that, and shares it with her on Messenger, that's really great for you. That means that's a great piece of content and it's going to be seen by more people. And number 5 is engagement on shares. It's not enough for me as an individual to just share a post anymore. I need my family and friends to really like and respond and comment to that post as well. What are some other important factors? Time spent on the content. You know, as a social media marketer, before January when they released the new algorithm, we were obsessed about how much time people were spending on our content, how much time people were watching our videos. And that's still important. It's just less important now than comments and comment replies and shares. When it was posted, recency is always going to be important on Facebook. You're never going to see something from 4 weeks ago unless you never log in. But it's not the most important factor anymore. That's why if you use Facebook regularly, sometimes you will see a post from 3 or 4 days ago. Story type, photos, videos, link posts. If you as an individual have a history of really liking and interacting with a certain type of content, you will see that more often. And just an insider tip, if you're posting as a business only text or only link posts, you're not going to perform well. Facebook is increasingly becoming, like Instagram, a visual platform. So those photos and videos are absolutely essential to doing well. Number 9 is completeness of the page profile. If you've listened at all in the news the last few weeks, you know that Facebook is under a lot of scrutiny right now about fake pages, fake news. And they're really upping their efforts to find and delete those fake pages. So the more sort of verified you can make your page, the more information you can complete in that page profile, the better. Your posts are going to do well. More people are going to be able to find your page. If they are searching for it, more people will tag you. And last but not least is how informative your post is. And that obviously is a very subjective variable, and it's one that we marketers often scratch our heads. Facebook has listed this as a part of their algorithm for a long time, and we're always asking, well, how do you define informative? And that's sort of hard for us to define, but our best understanding is it's based on the types of content that someone interacts with and asks questions about. And I think substance abuse is a topic very well suited to informative posts and questions and conversations. So you now have a little bit of a better understanding of what the algorithm is, but what you need to know is how can you beat it? Well, number 1, focus on video, especially live video. Why am I telling you to focus on live video? Well, history says Facebook says that live video is exponentially more interactive than any other type of content. And there's several reasons for that. One of those is the way that people typically run a live video is they solicit feedback and questions during the broadcast from the audience. So if you're going to do a live video, make sure that you do that. As people sign on, ask them to send you a message to tell you that they're on, and be sure to greet them. Ask them, pause during your live video to get people to ask you questions, or ask them questions and ask for their response in the comments. So what are some Facebook Live ideas that your organization can use? One of those is Q&A sessions with experts. How-to videos and informational videos are some of the most popular content across all social media. So think about those topics that would be really interesting to people in your community. If you have a lot of people who call your organization saying, hey, how can I get help for my loved one? How can I get affordable help for my loved one? How can I encourage them to seek help? If you're getting tons of the same question, maybe it's time to do a live video. Bring in some of the treatment centers in your community. Bring in some behavioral health experts to do a little Q&A session. Maybe people are really interested or perhaps critical of law enforcement in your community and how they're tackling this issue. If that's the case, bring in your sheriff. Interview him about how he's tackling this issue. And the other idea I had for you was testimonial videos, live interviews or discussions with individuals in recovery. This is going to provide, you know, stories do so well. People love to learn about other people. It's going to help address the stigma of addiction. And we've seen this approach work very, very well for organizations that we've trained in the past. Okay, number 2, avoid engagement bait. The Facebook algorithm actively decreases the reach of these types of posts. A little review, what are some examples of engagement bait? Engagement bait is going to be anything that Facebook thinks is gaming the system, right? Is asking for likes, comments, and shares. And this is new. We used to tell our organizations to do this all the time. It can't hurt to ask. Well, now it does hurt to ask. And there's lots of different types of engagement bait. Vote baiting. So on the left-hand side, vote if you like, you know, vote for your favorite option and use these different emotions for which photo you like best. Reaction baiting, like if you're this, love if you're that. Share baiting, you know, share with 10 friends and win a car. Tag baiting, you know, tag 10 people, and if that happens, I'll do something crazy and post a video about it. And comment baiting, which is one of the most common that we see organizations do, which is asking for comments. You know, comment this if you don't do that. So since you can't directly ask for comments, but they're essential, what do? One of the best ways is to ask questions, and I'll give you some examples. Okay, number 3, focus on community building through Facebook groups. In the news conference where Facebook announced the changes to the algorithm, they specifically talked about Facebook groups as a way to increase your reach. The reason is because Facebook groups are inherently, by the way they're set up, by the way they're managed, by the way that you decide to join them, more interactive. Okay, and so if you have a small group of very engaged people in your community, you may want to consider creating a Facebook group for them and really mobilizing that group. And so right here is a link to Facebook's forum about groups for nonprofit organizations. Because of time, I'm not going to go into groups, but I don't need to because Facebook's done a really excellent job of laying out what is a group, Why might you want to use one? How do I set one up? How do I run one in a really easy to understand way at this link? So go check that out and consider that as part of your strategy. Number 4, create quality content that resonates and sparks engagement with your audience, okay? This is the absolute essential, okay? If your content is not sparking engagement, nobody's gonna see it. So here are some of my ideas. Ask questions, okay? Ask questions. Let's say that you have a brand new resource or fact sheet that your organization has developed. Don't just post, hey, here's our new fact sheet, because likely no one's gonna see that. Instead, post the fact sheet link and then ask a question. Say, we've just completed this fact sheet that tells you, the top 10 ways to identify a teen who may be struggling with substance use. What are some resources that your family has found helpful? Another great way to spark conversation is soliciting opinions. If you have an annual event, ask your followers, hey, what do you want our theme to be this year? What's a great meeting venue to have our event at? Ask people for topics for upcoming webinars or Facebook Live sessions. Ask them to participate in a dialogue with you about some of the top issues that your organization can cover in 2018, 2019. Ask fans to share their favorite. You've probably seen some of these. People will post a silly Throwback Thursday or family photo and say, here's our Throwback Thursday. What's your favorite memory with your family on this holiday, or something like that. Inspirational quotes and memes are a very popular type of content, and fans will engage with you in sharing that type of content. And last but not least, those stories of individuals in recovery. We have seen time and time again that people comment on personal stories, especially if you tag the individual. People will respond and congratulate that person on their recovery. You could even ask and say, hey, congratulate him on being 5 or 10 years sober. We're so proud and so glad that our treatment center is helping. All right, certain types of questions get more comments than others. This is a study that's about a year old now, but I think it still applies. When you're thinking about how to phrase your question, should, would, and which are inherently more engaging. And if you think about it, it makes sense because it's soliciting someone's opinion, and people love to share their opinions with you. So here's an example of a really quick and easy way to ask a question. This is a social media group that I follow, and they've created a book list of great books for marketers. And really simple, all they say is, these are our favorite books. What are some of your favorites? And they're generating some decent discussion. Okay, Addiction Unscripted is an organization that their whole shtick is telling personal stories. So they posted when they launched that they wanted to solicit stories from people, and then they post those on a regular basis, and they tag, as you can see, the author, so that people can converse with that individual. And in this particular story, which was a very heartbreaking one, there were many, many, many comments about sharing sympathy and condolences for this woman who shared her story. Okay, a few other things. Share local news stories instead of national ones. Put a visual with every single post. I said that earlier. If you're doing text-only posts, nobody's going to see them. Limit the number of links to external content. This is just based on my observations since January. I'm seeing the performance of link posts declining. Now, obviously, it depends on the content and it depends on what your audience likes, but I would use link posts more sparingly than in the past. And when you do use them, I would check your metrics very carefully and make sure that that's still a good strategy. use Facebook post targeting. I'm going to show you what that is and how to use it in just a moment. And start experimenting with Facebook ads. Okay, so unfortunately, Facebook is becoming more and more what we call a pay-to-play platform, which means that many organizations need to start paying for people to see their posts. Not all organizations. My opinion is that there is always going to be a place for organizations like yours, community organizations, organizations that are serving the common good, to get a good reach and a good following on Facebook without paid. Your brands, Coca-Cola, they're not going to get anywhere unless they start paying. But it's still something that if you're really serious about social media, you should at least learn about and perhaps do some experiments and see how it works for you. If you're having an event or a big campaign that you've invested a lot of money in creating, then I think, you know, paid advertising is a really good way to go to make sure that all the effort you put into planning or creating something doesn't go to waste. Okay, so here's one example of from Operation Unite, which is an organization that we trained, of a link post that has a really great, compelling text. One of my big pet peeves is when people share a link post and the text above it is blank. Tell people why they need to read the story. Pull them in. And the best way to do that is with some really great, compelling text. Okay, so now I'm going to pause and do a very brief demo for you. Please use the chat box in that questions area if you have any questions. But I'm going to switch gears. Okay. So, oops, alrighty. Now, for starters, I'm going to go and address a few of the things that you mentioned in your evaluations. So don't ever say that evaluations don't matter. To me and Kristen, we really do pore over those and pore over the comments really carefully so we can better serve you. So one of the things people said is, I need you to show me how to create a page. So let's do that right now. For starters, there's two ways you can do this. Facebook.com/business. Okay, so just type that in, and right up at the top here, you can see create a page. Or if you're on Facebook, the other way you can do is go over to this little down triangle. It's going to open up a menu, and you're going to scroll down where it says create page. Okay, now the next screen you're going to see is this, and people say, oh no, choices, I don't like choices. This isn't really a choice at all. You're going to select business or brand. Now, I know you're not really a business and you're not really a brand, but the other option is for individuals, for politicians, celebrities, influencers, and that's really not a fit for your organization. So you want to go to business or brand, and then you're going to be able to name your page. Alrighty, and select a category. Okay, now by typing in, or you'll get some options. So for you all, I suggest nonprofit organization or community organization. Okay, and whatever you select here is going to do two things. One, people are going to be able to, you're going to be designated as that type of organization, but also based on what you select, Facebook is going to set up your page, the page navigation, and the way that people see the page when they view it differently if you're a nonprofit versus if you're a traditional business, okay? So really think about what you want your organizational category to be, and then Oh, and social media too. I've set up a lot of phony Facebook pages in my day. Hard to keep track. I'm sure I'm on some list to be targeted. And then push continue. And then it's really quite simple, folks. You're just going to follow the prompts. Facebook is going to guide you through the entire process step by step of setting up your page. And then after it's set up, they're actually going to do a little walkthrough for you. So they've made it very easy for you to do this. Facebook wants you to create a page so that they can market ads to you. Alrighty, so if you have any further questions about how to set up a page, please email me and I'm happy to jump on a web share and help you do that. But now I want to talk through sort of once your page is set up, what are some of the key areas that you might want to look at? I want to start right here with settings and point out just a few key pieces of information. Okay, under general, which is the little wheel, it should be the first thing that you see on your page. I want you to look right here, audience optimization for posts. Make sure that this section is turned on, that this right here has a checkbox, because that's going to allow you to do something really cool that I'll show you in just a minute. The other thing is to just skim through here and make sure that your page is a public one. And the last thing to do you might want to consider right here is page verification. Remember I told you that Facebook is actively trying to cut down on fake pages. So you may want to try to get verified. If you click on verify this page, it's going to ask you for a phone number. And once you click call me now, Facebook will call you and ask you a few questions to verify that you are who you say you are. And once that process occurs in about a week or two, you should start seeing the little gray check that you have a verified page, okay? Messaging is the second tab. As I mentioned, Facebook Messenger is sort of like a text messaging system for your Facebook page. And I really encourage you to consider using this. When you set up your page, they will ask you if you want this enabled or not. And I really think that you should. The reason is it's just another way for your users to communicate with you. But the reason I'm showing you this in settings is because one of the fears about messaging that we hear a lot is, oh my goodness, if I set up Messenger, I'm going to have to be on Facebook 24 hours a day. I can never take a vacation. Not true, folks, because of this response assistant. So this is where you're going to go if you go on vacation and you want to send an automatic message. You can just type something that says, hey, I'm going to be gone for the week. Thank you so much for your message. I look forward to communicating with you when I'm back. Another thing to consider is to create a messenger greeting. What this will do is the first time someone converses with you, it'll send them a message that you pick. You might say something simple as, hey, thank you so much for messaging us. We typically, we're a small organization and we typically respond within, 3 to 5 days. We look forward to speaking with you. Last thing I want to show you under settings is right here, page roles, okay? When you set up your page, this is where you're going to go to add other Facebook users who you want to be able to create content for your post, review content for your posts, look at your metrics, okay? And all you have to do is type their name in. So I'm going to add Kristen here. And this little toggle bar here is going to show you all the different options, okay? And if you click on one, you can see what sorts of rights different designations get to see, okay? Now, a few expert tips. I really recommend that you have more than one administrator for your page. I've seen this so often in organizations. One nightmare scenario, they had one administrator who left the organization in sort of a bad way. this person refused to relinquish administrator rights to their page. They had to start over from scratch. They had to rebrand their organization, rebrand their Facebook page, because the administrator that was assigned wouldn't give up their rights. So always make sure that you have more than one administrator, and that should fix that problem. And also that means your administrators can go on vacation. Okay, so real quick, I want to show you a few sort of quick tips that I did show in the training. So these are just review about some neat things you can do with posts. Whoops, so I'm going to switch over to Ace and Darla here. Okay, so we're going to have a post. So Ace and Darla are having fun on their webinar about social media. If you heard them a little bit, they love social media. Okay, so I've inputted this text in. Now, usually if I wanted to put this on my page, I would just hit publish. But I'm not going to do that because I want to show you something really neat. Instead, I'm going to go to this down arrow right here, and I can do a couple things. I can schedule the post. So if I'm going on vacation, or I like to develop my content weeks in advance, which I certainly recommend you do, then you're going to click that button. Or I can save it as a draft. Okay, so once I've saved it or I've scheduled it, where does it go? Well, it goes right up here under Publishing Tools. Okay, so if you click on Publishing Tools, you're going to go down here, and there's your scheduled posts. And Kristen doesn't have any scheduled posts right now, but this is where you're going to view all your scheduled posts. And if for some reason you want to change when you want them to be posted, that's very quick and easy to do. We always recommend that social media managers check at least once a week of what they've got scheduled, just to make sure the content is appropriate for the occasion. And if you have a draft, then it's also going to show up here. So let's see so here's a post that we've saved as draft. The really neat thing here is you can get a preview of what it's going to look like on a desktop and what it's going to look on mobile. This is so helpful if you're posting photos or graphics that you've created. Canva and Adobe Spark generally do a great job of sizing the photos perfectly for the post, but it's always good to check that you are looking great on mobile, because Facebook is primarily viewed on mobile. I believe the newest statistic is 89% of users solely look at Facebook content on their phone. Okay, so one more thing I want to show you in the post area. Whoops, and my post went away, but I'm going to say, hi from Ace and Darla. Now, remember in settings how I told you to make sure that audience optimization is turned on. So down here, this used to be a bullseye up until a few weeks ago. I think even in our training it was a bullseye. Well, now they've changed it like they often do. You'll see this little globe. Okay, so click that down arrow, and you'll see that right now this is set as a public post, which means anyone who likes or follows this page is eligible to see this post. And if anyone goes to Ace and Darla, they can also see this post. Well, let's say that I had a specific post that was only relevant to women, or it was only relevant to teenagers that liked my organization, or particularly, let's use the Insights example. You all have so many different groups operating in different parts of the state. Maybe you want to just target one specific part of the state. You might want to consider limiting your audience for the post. So you're going to select Limit Audience by Demographics. And then you have all of these different ways to target the post. So you can do it by interest. So one of my favorite ones to target with is parenting, okay? If you have something for mothers or fathers specifically, or for infants, if you're doing something on vaccination, let's say, then that's a great way to do it. You can also target by age, by gender, and by location. You can also do it by language, but I don't think that'll be particularly useful to you. So why would you be interested in doing that? Well, because the more targeted you are, if you have a post for women and men see it, they're not going to engage with it, right? So your post is going to perform better if you're using an audience, or you're sending it, if you will, to an audience that really cares about it. All right, now I know I'm over time. I want to do a real quick dive through this ever important area, which is insights. Okay, yes, leave this page. Okay, so real quick, Facebook Insights, absolutely essential to good performance on a Facebook page. You've absolutely got to look at how your posts are doing and adjust what you're doing based on your reach, okay? So I really encourage you to begin the process of learning about Facebook Insights and how to use it. And Kristen and I have done another webinar that's all on Facebook Insights and Instagram Insights, and I believe we did Twitter as well. So we encourage you to go and watch that. We can send the link to you. We really encourage you to watch that one if you can stand listening to our voice for another hour. One of the things that I love on the Overview tab, you can export your data to Excel. I mentioned this during the training, but I really focus on this second radio button right here, which is Post Data. That's going to give you the most rich data about how your posts are performing, because again, page data is about people who actually go to your page, and that's pretty few and far between. And video data is specific only to the videos you post, which is pretty useful, but you also get some of that information in post data. So I love that post data tab. On the date range, you can export 180 days worth of posts or up to 500 posts. So if you've posted more than 500 times in 180 days, they will only give you 500. But please, folks, don't post that frequently. You want to be aiming for quality over quantity. Okay, two more quick things. I want you to go down to, I'm going to switch gears real quick. All right, I want you to look at the People tab, which is going to give you all sorts of information about who your followers are, whether they're men or women, what age they are, where they're from. Why is this important? Well, you want people you want to create content that's speaking to your audience. So you need to use these tools to figure out who's speaking to your audience. And let's go to posts. And here is where you're going to get a lot of other great information, okay? When your fans are online. We always get the question, when should I post? What time of day should I post? And the answer is when the most number of your fans are online. So if you see for O or a U, the most number of our fans are on about 9 p.m. So I want to post around that time frame, anytime within, an hour or so, either way of 9 p.m. should perform very well. Post types. What type of post do my audiences like? Well, no surprise here. They love videos, next photos, last link, and we've stopped doing text posts altogether, so that's not included here. And also top posts for pages you watch. We watch the University of Tennessee because we're based in Knoxville. So this tells me, if they have a post that's doing really, really well, I like to check out what they're doing. Maybe I can share it to my page. Maybe I can get some cool ideas. Now, this bottom post is going to give you all sorts of great information. And the thing that I love is you can hover over anything here and get some really great information about what this is. So if you forget what is reach, which is the number of people who saw your post in their news feed, Facebook will tell you. All right, folks, I know that was super, super quick, and I hate to do that to you, but I want to check and make sure that no one has asked any questions. It looks like all of you are still with us, which is amazing. We're so grateful to you for paying attention and listening. Kristen, I guess I'll turn it over to you, and we can wrap up for today.
Hey everyone, thanks so much, Jennifer. I think that was an awesome overview. And just like Jennifer said, you know, if we didn't go into enough detail here with insights for you, we have that full 1 hour webinar on Instagram and Facebook and even Twitter, insights and how to look at your metrics and analytics. So if you're interested in that, please feel free to drop us an email. I believe it was in that folder of all of those resources that we shared with you during the in-person training. But again, if there is anybody on the line who maybe was not in our in-person training or did not access that and definitely wants a copy, please send us an email. I put our email addresses in the chat box. So we'll hang on for another few minutes to see if there are any questions. If anybody has them, please feel free to raise your hand, type them in the chat box, and then we can or we can unmute one by one. So yeah, if there are no questions, then you guys are free to go, and we'll make sure that you get a copy of this recorded webinar. And again, feel free at any time, if ever you have a question or want us to walk you through something specifically one-on-one, we're always available. So shoot us an email. You've got our addresses right there in the chat box. Oh, looks like we may have a hand raised from Raphael. Let me go ahead and unmute you. Okay, Raphael, you had a question? You're unmuted, so you can go ahead. Oh, I see it now. Okay, how do you add more people to your Facebook page other than friends? So Jennifer, do you want to go ahead and take that?
Sure. So I think you're asking about adding other organizations to your Facebook page. Is that correct? I'm guessing so. If not, just type in the comments or we've unmuted you and you can speak to us. But let me share my screen again and I can show you how that's done.
And Jennifer, we got a response from Raphael. He said, yes, that's exactly what he was wanting you to show how to do.
Great. All righty. All right, so let's share my screen one more time. Okay, so let's pick an organization. See here. All right, so Insight Human Services, right here as an organization, and they are verified on Facebook, so that's nice. So let's say I wanted to like them as my organization. I could, if I just clicked this, it would like this organization as me, as Jennifer Reynolds, not as one of the pages that I manage. So I want to go over to these three dots over here and select like as your page. okay? And you could go to any number of organizations and just repeat that process time and time again. But that's the secret. If you just go and click that like or follow, you'll like it as Raphael, not as whatever organization you are. And if you manage multiple pages, it will offer you, it'll say which page do you want to like this as.
And going back to your sort of question, Raphael, I know that you specifically asked how do you add more people to your Facebook page other than friends. So Jennifer showed that option to like pages as your page. And hopefully if you're doing that, then that page will follow you back. Jennifer, why don't you take a moment to show how to invite people?
Thank you, Kristen. That is a great thing. So this is a tip that we shared during the training. Okay, so when you post, so we're going to be ORU for a moment. All right, so here is a post that we have about an extreme teacher giveaway that we're doing, and they've actually boosted this post, so it performed very well for us. And you'll see that this post has had lots of comments and lots of interactions. Well, these boxes are all clickable. So 70 people liked this post. If I click on that, I can see a list of everyone who liked that post, okay? Now, over here on the right-hand side, if it's grayed out and it just says liked, that means that that person is already following my page. But if it says invite, then that means that I can invite them to like ORAU. All you do is click that and it'll send that person a message that'll appear in their feed that just says, hey, ORAU has invited you to like their page. And 6 out of 10 times, people will do that. So I think it's really worth a shot. And you can click on any of these, I believe, and that will show up. Oh, nope, never mind. Stick with the comments or stick with the likes. Because that's just the easiest view. Thanks for the reminder there, Kristen.
All right, and Raphael, is there anything else that we can show you or any other, is there any other way to invite people?
All right, good question. I would say by far, the most sort of effective way to invite people to like your page is actually using an offline strategy. Ask people everywhere you go, have your Facebook page and your social media channels on your business card. Have it at the bottom of your flyers and promotional materials. Everywhere you go, at a town hall, ask people to like your pages to stay up to date with what you're doing. Ask, ask, ask. Some other ways, if you have an email list, you can email people and say, hey, if you like our page, we're going to be doing a raffle. So remember, if you do that on Facebook, that's considered engagement bait. So you want to make sure that you're doing that offline, say using email or at a booth, maybe at a community event. Have them come to your booth, let them watch you like that, you watch them like your page, and they get entered into a raffle. So that's really most effective. The other way would be to have your board members or some of your champions of your organization invite their friends to like your page verbally, either through Messenger or through a post. They could tag your post in a personal post of theirs and say, hey, I've been following X organization for over a year. Their content is so valuable to me. You all should really consider liking them too. So those are sort of some strategies we've used that have been really effective. But in terms of other ways to really easily invite people, aside from using paid advertising, not really.
And that's great, Jennifer. And Raphael, I just wanted to show you one other place where you can get to that, the inviting people who like your posts and things like that. If you, and Jennifer, you can go ahead and walk through this, I'm sure. But if you want to click, Raphael, on community on the left-hand side, this is another way to get at one of those things that Jennifer showed you before. So you'll see on the right-hand side, you can invite your friends to like those pages, and that's one of the things that Jennifer was just talking about.
And those are your personal friends.
Yes, good clarification, Jennifer. All right. Well, Raphael, if there's nothing else, we'll go ahead and conclude the webinar for today. It looks like everyone else has dropped off, but feel free to send us emails after the fact. And if you have any other questions, we will be sure to help you answer them. And thank you, Jennifer and Raphael. Have a wonderful day.
Yep, thanks. We enjoyed it. Bye.